Now, what are you seeing in terms of any kind of progress that this opposition might be making in light of what is essentially a black hole to the rest of the world?
You know, it's been quite fascinating going through some of the neighborhoods in the city because it is such a clear indication of just how far these battle lines have shifted. Now, rebel commanders are claiming that they control, or rather, the regime does not control, around 65% of the city. We were in one neighborhood that the rebel fighters are telling us was the first neighborhood to fall to the Free Syrian Army. And some 3 weeks ago, residents actually began coming back. Now, that's not to say that the neighborhood is entirely safe, but they felt confident enough to a certain degree to begin returning to their homes. That was part of the reason why they went back. The other part is quite simply because it's winter, it is freezing cold, and it was deemed for them a better option to try to salvage what they could from the wreckage of their homes. And we really saw some widespread devastation, then continue trying to tough it out in the various refugee camps or crowded together at relatives' homes. So it's still very much a gamble, even for those residents that are living in these particular areas that on the ground, yes, are under the control of rebel forces, but there is still always that constant threat from the sky.
Arwa, the internet blackout must have been a heck of a blow to the opposition, because so many of them actually use, instead of military type communications, they use cell phones. But there are some kinds of more elite communications among the rebels, aren't there?
That's right, there are. And from the onset of this, they have managed to get in various ways to be able to continue to upload, videos, images, communicate with the outside world, bearing in mind that the technology that they are bringing in to be able to do that is not widespread amongst all of the various activists who are out there. So it most certainly does make it incredibly difficult for the majority of them to upload those YouTube videos that are not only such a critical window for the outside world to see what's happening inside Syria, but also their only means of communication, their only means of getting their message out.
Or what does it feel like on the ground when you talk to these rebels about the virtual isolation they're in from the rest of the world, and effectively from the kind of help that could bring an end to this horror?
There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, and people fail to understand why it is that the U.S. has chosen to take the role that it has taken. They say that since the United States and other nations have failed to help them in this battle, they're not going to accept any sort of meddling in the future, so that could potentially make it very tricky if and when the Assad regime falls, to forge relationships with the potentially new Syrian government that is going to be formed. But as one person was saying to me, how many people need to die? What is that number of Syrians that need to die for countries like the U.S. to actually take action? And that's really a question that we can't answer.